Well, this story pretty much is another story of the haves and have-nots. Jesus is eating in a home at dinner table. Now, I need to understand now that I've come back from Israel what that actually looked like. And those homes were fairly small. There were some big ones, but out in the Galilee, as we call it, we call it Galilee, but in Israel they call it the Galilee. You look at those homes, the rooms are very small. And in fact, what makes a room out there is if you can take your body and stretch yourself on the floor, and they got stuff around it, that's one room. The room that they would have probably been having this feast at would probably not have been all that big. It would have probably been a rich person's house, somebody fairly wealthy. And they were all gathered together for the meal. They were all reclining down on the floor with this stone table. They were mostly stone. And they were eating. And Jesus had invited tax collectors and sinners. Tax collectors, of course, they were out of sorts because they were kind of like money changers, and you had to pay taxes to them, not only for King Herod's enterprises, but also for the Romans, which meant they mixed with Gentiles, which were unclean. He also met with sinners, which were people that lived outside of the law, that were Jewish, that were excluded. These folks, being sinners, were probably economically not well off, i.e. they were poor. You see that same kind of demarcation in Israel today. You go on the areas controlled by Israel, economically very well off, they work very hard. If you go into the Palestinian sections that are run by the Palestinians, essentially what you see is a ghetto. Folks that are very poor. And the two do not mix. In Jerusalem, there is a wall, kind of like the Berlin Wall. That's what it reminded me of. Where you have to go through checkpoints and armed guards and razor wire and barbed wire in order to cross from one to another. Those kinds of demarcations that were alive in Jesus' time, very much still alive today. But now this group that Jesus had invited, these tax collectors and sinners, this was just not an open invitation. The people that were with Jesus were those that had heard Jesus' message of repentance to turn their lives around. And these people that were gathered with Jesus to eat and to sit at his feet and learn, these people had changed their lives. They had repented. They had taken that vow that the lifestyle that they had lived up to that point would be changed.